Welcome aboard the Wedding Empires podcast with yours truly, Jack Bowie, where we plunge into the depths of creativity, entrepreneurship, and the love-infused world of weddings. Each episode, we're going to unpack strategies, insights, and stories that empower you to craft the wedding business of your dreams. Welcome to the Wedding Empires podcast. Welcome back to season 4 of Wedding Empires. Our special guest today, Sally Gallis, has spent 20 years as a drama teacher and director. In 2018, after planning her own wedding, she decided to flex her creative skills and started her own wedding planning business called Luna and the Lane. Sally now has a thriving business that is planning and coordinating with styling and prop hire around the south of England. Sally, welcome.
Hey, nice to be here.
It's really nice to meet you. We were having a lovely chat offline about the fact that you're down in Brighton. It's a lovely spot.
Down in sunny Brighton.
What a lovely place to do weddings.
It's a really lovely place because it's quite it's quite free-spirited and colourful, and it's really nice. You get some really lovely people that are really down to earth, not stuffy. So it's quite nice. You get a variety of clients.
I bet. Now, I actually don't think that drama teacher to wedding planner is that much of a stretch. It funny for me when back in the day where in high school I went to the careers advisor and they made you do that test. It was like travel agent, drama teacher, wedding planner. So for me, I'm like, well, of course, that makes perfect sense to me. And yeah, so I think having a creative vision and directing is so much of what we do as wedding planners, right? It's not a stretch.
Absolutely. Loads of people say to me, haven't got a clue about sort of the teaching profession or anything like that. They just go, oh my God, it's so different. Like, what made you do it? And I sort of then start explaining to them, actually, it's no different whatsoever. It's just a different clientele. And you start to realise those sort of transferative skills are there, and it's really, really obvious, that change. And actually, surprisingly, the amount of ex-teachers I meet on the circuit is outstanding. It's like, people crawl out of the woodwork and they go, oh yeah, I used to be a teacher. And it's okay. Into.
So I guess I'd like to know what, sorry, go.
I was just going to say, I guess we get sort of so stressed up to a point and then go, oh, I can't take it anymore. And what can I do? And then wedding planner is the obvious choice. I don't know. It's very strange.
Yeah. I ended up being a theatre producer, and I went through that same change in that, I know how to direct and I know how to come up with the idea. What else can I do where I can apply those skills, but I don't have to worry about selling tickets? So, all right, what drew you to drama teaching in the beginning?
I think teaching is always something that I just knew I was going to go into. And I think, like you were saying, I mean, back in the day, the careers advisors would give you sort of like 3 channels that they thought that you should go into. And none of them were really anything that floated my boat. And I don't know. I honestly don't know. It was so long ago. I honestly don't know what led me into it, other than the fact that I really like the subject. I love the freedom of it. And I actually was quite geeky, and I love sort of delving into text, and I love literature and all that sort of thing. So I actually started training with little kids at uni, and then they changed the curriculum, and then they said, well, basically, you're not going to get any chance to do drama now because we're changing it all. So you have to change your course and work with older children and teenagers and that sort of thing. And I thought, oh my God, they're going to eat me alive. Anyway, I did it. And I absolutely loved it because I ended up working with sort of young people and up to the sort of age of like 20. And it was great because they were able to just really give themselves and they were keen on like exploring things rather than, going in and, doing something low level. We got a bit geeky with it, and it was lovely. And that then led me into doing the directing and producing, which I loved. Because, it's so creative and there's so many things that you can do with it. So I absolutely loved it. So I've always done it, but I just got to the point. I thought, right, I'm going to get to my 20-year point, because I used to look round the staff room and see all these sort of old, crusty people in there, and they were, almost at death's door. And I thought, oh my God, I can't get to that. So 20 years, that's honourable. That's the point where I'm going to stop. And actually, I would have been in my very early 40s at that point. And I thought, right, I can do this because I've got the energy. I've got time to sort of play with it. If it doesn't work, I've still got time that I can go back into teaching if it doesn't work. But I just felt like it was the right time to go.
That's a huge step, going from 20 years of teaching into a whole new career.
How did...
I kind of know what that's like myself. So was there any like fears that you had or any doubts that you had in making that change?
Massively. It was so scary because I was going from something that had a salary, that had a monthly salary, and it was a good salary because I worked my way up and I was managing people and everything, and to suddenly plunge myself into something that was unknown without that safety net of, being able to pay the bills and the mortgage every month. It was really frightening, but I have a really supportive family. My husband's very supportive, and he allows me to have these weird harebrained schemes every now and then, and he's a risk taker anyway. So I think he was behind me, and he could also see that I was really quite tired and desperately didn't want to continue doing the teaching. So he was just like, if you feel a passion for this, absolutely go for it. But yeah, it was massively scary because I didn't have that safety net. I was, you do something for 20 years, it like the back of your hand. And that links us in nicely to the fact that I then did a course with you guys, and that helped to set me up.
Oh, yes, the Wedding
Academy. About your husband there.
That thing.
Did you plan your own wedding, Sally?
Yeah, I did. I think a lot of us do, actually, that have got into the industry. I think it's maybe something that sort of pushes us into it. But yeah, that was back in 2013. I got remarried to my lovely, very supportive husband, and I went into that completely blind. I mean, I was obviously doing my directing and stuff at the time, and I thought, easy, I could do this. I direct all these shows and everything, but it was really interesting because at that point, when you don't work in the industry, you don't actually understand all the choice that you have. You have this idea about what a wedding should be because you see everybody else's, or you see it on films and all this sort of thing. But actually, it's only when you actually start delving into it and reaching out to people and doing your research that you realise how much choice there is out there now. And I really, really enjoyed it. And actually, a lot of the people that I recruited to help in terms of vendors and things like that are people that I work with now, which is really, really nice, and people that I suggest for my clients. So it was quite eye-opening, but I absolutely loved it. And I do think that probably gave me the impetus to actually go, oh yeah, there's more to this wedding planning stuff than I first thought. And I guess that's all the sort of transferable skills as well.
It's a bit of a funny thing. Like, I've been doing this 20 years as well, and you see some brides, they love it. They have a great time planning their own wedding. And then there's others that are actually tearing their hair out that never want to see another wedding in their whole life. So fantastic. You had a great experience, and now it's a career. Yeah,
I did have a good one, but I do think that maybe my background probably helped that as well. I mean, I see that now. I mean, I get to a certain point with planning and clients, or if suddenly I get an email from somebody that's like, oh, I've gone into this really wanting to plan my own wedding, and I thought it was going to be great, but actually I'm feeling quite overwhelmed now, and I just need somebody to just help or just do it for me. So yeah, people have different experiences with it, but luckily mine was quite positive.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think you would have had a similar experience to me when you can hear me? Yeah. I think you would have had a similar experience to me where it was that first meeting or the first couples where you didn't have the wedding planning experience behind you, but you were able to kind of lean on the production skills, right? And kind of go, you know what? No, I haven't done a wedding, but I brought a West End show to Australia by myself. Like, if stuff's going to go wrong, I'm going to deal with it. It's like well within my range. Was that similar for you?
Exactly that. I was, totally. I had exactly the same thoughts as, I've done this, so surely I can do this because this is for me and I'm making the decision. So, surely it should be a bit easier. But yeah, I had a great time doing it. I really enjoyed doing it. So yeah, didn't put me off, let's say.
If you're in the business of making dreams come true, listen up, because the Wedding Academy is your ticket to success. Running a wedding business isn't always a walk down the aisle. It takes skill, savvy, and a whole lot of know-how. That's where the Wedding Academy swoops in to save the day. Imagine easy-to-follow certificate courses taught by industry pros covering everything from wedding styling to floral design to even marketing and business for any kind of wedding business. All Wedding Academy courses are 100% online, self-paced, and come with ongoing training and support to keep you up to date. And here's the cherry on top. I've wrangled up an exclusive deal. Just punch in the code PODCAST when you enroll and bam, you'll score a sweet 5% off any course. Ready to take your wedding business to the next level? Then head on over to the Wedding Academy today at weddingacademyglobal.com. Don't forget to plug in that code PODCAST to check out with your special discount.
And when it came to building your own business, did you have a clear kind of creative vision around that? No.
No.
So how did that all come together?
Well, I thought I did. I thought going into it, I know my clients. I know how I'm going to do this. I know what kind of planner I am. Yeah, right. I didn't have a clue. I'm somebody that is very honest about what they thought they were going to be like and actually the reality, because I think it's so important that you're able to just reflect on your practice and actually develop things. But so at the point where I decided to change my career, I was working in a really posh private school, girls' school. And I was thinking, oh, yeah, what I'll be able to do is to set this business up. And then when they all come of age and get married, they'll all come to me. You don't need a mega wedding. I've already got these. I've just got to wait, 7 years or whatever for them all. They'll all come swarming to me because I know what I'm doing. And they're going to have massive budgets and all this sort of thing. And I sat and I waited for the clients to come in, and they didn't come in, and I was thinking, what's going on here? And I'd got my ideal client completely wrong. And I was just sort of expecting things to come my way, and it didn't. And I thought, okay, I actually have to sort of rethink my sort of business plan and think about my ideal client a little bit more. And this was all the time where I was doing my course. So it was really good because it gave me thinking time. And I learned from the course in terms of all the client, ideal client, the USP and all this thing. So it gave me breathing time to really rethink who I was and what kind of planner I was and what kind of ideal client I wanted and all that sort of thing. So I went into it thinking, oh yeah, I've got the skills. I've got this. I've got to just wait a few years for these people to mature and everything. But maybe they're older sisters. Maybe they're older sisters, or their mums might get remarried or something. But it's fine because they're there. No. So yeah, it was a learning curve. But oh my God, I'm so pleased I had that learning curve, because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, to be honest. And I don't think I'd be working with the people that I actually enjoy working with. So Yeah. You've got to look at where you are and reflect sometimes, and it might not be the best thing, and that's fine.
So speaking of learning curves, like, were they the biggest challenges you had, or were there other challenges that you faced in doing this? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. But that wasn't the only one. I mean, that was one of the main ones, was the whole ideal client thing. But I think starting any business is obviously really hard, but something that is so visual, when you don't have the visuals, that's a massive deterrent, because, how are you going to get the clients if you can't sort of own what you're doing, and you can't show what you're doing and have that trust and everything. So it's like going into a job, isn't it? Where you go into the interview and they say, "Oh, what experience have you got for this job? We need this, this, and this, and this." And you go, "Well, I haven't got it." And you're waiting for somebody to take a punt on you, to go, "Oh, actually, what you bring to the interview is enough, and I'm willing to take that chance." It's the same thing with clients, really. If you start, how can you show that you're good at something, or give me the chance to show you?
Yeah.
So it was really, so in terms of things like that, I just collaborated to the point where I couldn't collaborate anymore. I worked with please. I worked with so many different suppliers and things like that, just to shadow them, to learn from them, to get connections, networking. And I did, my God, the amount of shoots that I did in order to get visuals. You've got to do a thing in order to sort of put it out there, to say, look, I can do this. And then, hopefully the jobs will come trickling in. And they did. But my God, those were challenges. The being able to prove to people you can do it when you haven't done it before. It's really hard.
That story reminds me of, or puts you in a scene of Jerry Maguire, the help me help you, like that kind of deal.
Show me the money.
Yeah, and then show me the money. Yeah,
Exactly.
I need to remember that. Help me help you, now show me the money.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, it's that trust, isn't it? How can you prove to somebody when you haven't got the things to show them?
And so who is your perfect client? Like, who do you work with now?
It's really interesting, actually, how that's just sort of sounds organically happened. It's the people that get in touch with me they're quite design led. They're very open minded. They're they're people that are really allowing of somebody to share expertise with. So they're people that are very open minded to choice.
Are they ex-private schoolgirls or?
No, surprising.
No, hasn't come around yet.
And a couple of ex-student ones, but that's just because, maybe they don't know any better.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, they're sort of early 30s. I'd say, they're South Coast couples, so they're around this area. And I was just saying to Jack before we came on, the whole sort of demographic of Brighton and the surrounding areas is very young at heart, very open-minded, quite colourful, but doesn't have to be. But I think because of I always say to them as well, because of my background with directing, set designing and all that sort of thing, I don't necessarily have a style. So if people come to me and they want me to do the whole shebang, the planning and the styling and all that sort of thing, I'll say, okay, well, bring your inspiration to me and let's work together to create something where we're all singing and dancing and something from the same song sheet. So I get a variety of people coming to me. And, I get those people that want something a bit more luxury, but it's not in the luxury market. They want the feel of luxury, but they're a bit more open-minded about it, and they're willing. They look at trends, but they're not like, they're not really focused on, well, I must have draping, I must have bows because it's 2025. We're influenced by things, but I say to them, you'll look back on this and you'll go, oh, you can tell my wedding was in 2025, or I can tell my wedding was in 2013. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested reflecting you. So I try and the first time that we meet, normally like on Zoom or something, I try and sort of put out who I am and the nature of how the way I work. And, 9 times out of 10, it works well. And they then go, yeah, I'd love you to help me. But if I feel as though they're not my people, I've got to the point now where I will say to them that I don't know whether we're aligned, and I don't know whether you're going to get the right experience with me. So I feel quite confident now to actually say to people, to direct them to perhaps looking at other things, because it's, I'm not going to get something out of it. They're not going to get the same experience out of it. I'd rather them go to somebody that is more aligned with them. And I didn't.
It's a great way to word that.
Point, but
that's a great way to word that.
Though.
And it's important. We learn to say no. Finally, I know in the beginning we didn't. It was like, someone give me a go.
Please. But I think, at the end of the day, you want to enjoy what you're doing, and you want to enjoy who you're working with, because, the planning journey can take, a year. I want to work with people over that year that are getting something really good out of the experience from me, as well as me enjoying what I'm doing with them. So I think it's really important. It's important to get to the point where you know who your ideal client is, and you're attracting them as opposed to anyone.
Yeah. And well done for not pandering to the trends as well. Like we're in an industry that is so swayed by the next thing that comes through. And then unfortunately, in 2 years, it's completely out of date and looks trash.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm very keen on, brilliant. Let's look at the fashion. Let's look at, what's in the media and all this sort of thing. I mean, that's fantastic. I find that really exciting. But I will look at a trend, and I'll pick things from it, but incorporate it into their day. The whole thing is about reflecting them. It's not about reflecting a trend that's happening at the moment. I just don't want them to look back on it and regret choices just because everybody else was doing it,
Yeah. How many times have we seen that, Jack?
How many times have I had a client send me a photo and go, I just want that. Just book all the same people.
And Pinterest is part of this as well. I mean, I think Pinterest is brilliant. I think people think Pinterest is, either great or it's the demon. But I really like Pinterest to a point. We meet people and they'll go, oh, I've got my Pinterest board. And I'll be like, okay, great. Send it over to me. And then you can immediately go, well, that's not going to work, and that's not going to work, or that's not going to be in season, or, I'm down in sunny south of England, and, they're showing me things that are, there's a lot coming from Australia, for example. And I go, well, that's available in Australia. We're not going to be able to do that.
That's an Australian native.
Yeah.
I get that all the time. A bride will send me a picture board, and I'll look through and I'll go, yep, can do that. No, you're mental. No.
Yeah.
Like,
that's ugly. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to look at yourself like that in 5 years? No, mental.
Okay.
Yeah.
But having those conversations with people, you've got to be working with the right people to have those conversations with them. And they've got to trust you to go, actually, I think Sal knows what she's talking about. She's not just saying, I don't like that because that's not her taste. She's saying that because actually it's just not practical, So it all comes back round to just working with the right people, doesn't it, I guess?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Attracting them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, you won a big award recently.
Yeah, I read that in the show notes too. Like, wow.
What was it, South?
I did.
Best wedding planner.
So I got, best wedding planner in the Southeast. So I sometimes have to remind myself actually what that means, because, I'm a 2-person show. So there's me and there's a full-timer, and my little business that I made. So apparently I'm the best planner in Sussex, Kent, Surrey, and all of London. So I'm like, well, check me out. Yeah, I know. So I'm really, really proud of myself. Went to the nationals the other day. Didn't get the national award, so but that's on next year's bucket list. But I'm really, really proud of myself actually, because I sort of think, 7-8 years ago when I started my business, there was me thinking, obviously, going to have all these rich people working with me. That didn't happen. And then COVID happened and there was no events at all, that time. And I just think, actually, I got myself out of that little hole, dusted myself off, and, look at little Luna now.
I love it.
It's cool.
So in doing all that and in winning that award, did you have any mentors along the way? Like who is there anyone that influenced you along the way?
I think the whole doing the course was a massive, massive factor. And working alongside Zoe was really, really good, actually, because you plod your way through the units and the modules, and you're learning little snippets along the way. But Zoe was really good in so much as, the learning bit. She was fantastic to go to with really stupid questions and, bouncing ideas off her. It was really, really good. But I found that sort of, again, organically, just doing the job, you make links and network with all these people. And some of them I just find really quite inspiring because they might be doing something completely different in the industry to me. But, you get chatting to people and they share expertise or nuggets of information or anecdotes and things like that. And you learn all the time from these people. And it's fantastic. So doing networking and things like that has been brilliant just to naturally learn from people. So I had obviously had my mentor back in the day when we were doing the course. But other than that, it's a case of learning from people and learning by doing. But I was talking to somebody the other day, actually. I was doing an exhibition and there was a new planner that just came along just to network, which I thought was brilliant. And she's been going for about a year. And she was at that point where she was like, how do I show that I can do it? What we were talking about before. And I said to her, I naturally said, you need a mentor. And she was like, what? And I said, well, just have to have like one person because, you're going to get a certain amount of expertise from that person. But just do what you're doing now and network and talk to people and learn from people and listen and share and all that sort of thing, because you'll learn so much just by doing and talking to people. So I think it's just really, really important. Just keep your eyes open, your ears open, and share experience. Because, underneath the surface, all of us are just sort of, am I doing the right thing all the time? And it's great
winging it
to speak to people. Yeah, wing it. But yeah, so I just think that's really, really important.
I think that's some really great advice.
Yeah, I love that duck philosophy. It looks calm above the water, but underneath
we're all sometimes making it up as we go along, but we've got to look like we've absolutely got our stuff together. But yeah, you learn by doing, you learn by talking to people, you learn by, working alongside people in different fields. And it's, you get inspired that way. Yeah, being open to something and realizing that you don't know everything, I think is really important just in life, but particularly in industry.
Yeah, you heard it here first, everyone.
There you go.
Just learned so much. That's really great advice. You know how many people write to us at the Wedding Academy saying, how do I just build my portfolio and build, it's that that beginning is really tough. But yeah, get out there, network with the community. I mean, at the Wedding Academy, obviously we've got a huge student community, so get out there and offer to support people that are more established and learn from them. Sally, have you got a favourite wedding ever that you've done?
Oh, no.
You don't have to name them.
You do. We all do, Sally. We all do.
You name people. And ones that I hated. No.
That's another kind of episode that we do.
That's the next one. Yeah. That's a really, really hard question because all of them have got elements about them that I really, really love. And I sort of, maybe sort of think, I could suggest doing something like that with this person because that might work. So the ones that stick in my mind are the ones where I've made a genuine connection with the couples. And I try and do that obviously just by working with the right people anyway. I think there's one last year that is really dear to me, I think, because they were a couple, they won't mind me saying this, but they're quite nerdy in so much as they were really, really, really academically minded. These are Oxford graduates, and, on the outside, you think they're really quiet and timid and really quite shy. But underneath the surface, once you get to know them, they were just such fun-loving, wonderful people. But they were getting married quite a long way away from where I'm based. So it meant that I had to spend the weekend over there. And it was really lovely because on the Friday, I got to work with all the family, all the friends that all came to help. So there was a real feeling of community. So we were all setting up this space and it was lovely, and it just gave me opportunity. I'll just go and talk to anybody. And it just gave me the opportunity to just go and chat with the parents and the friends and make links with them. And then by the wedding day, it was like the parents were my parents. It sounds really corny, but they were so sweet and so lovely. They were taking me around in their car and dropping me here, there and everywhere. And there was just, through the whole weekend, there was just this real sense of like, they were so loved by people. It was so lovely. And they're a UK couple, but they're living over in San Francisco. So they had people from all the continents flew over to be at their wedding because they are so loved, genuinely loved. And you just, oh God, it's so corny, but you just felt the love in the room. But it was just that feeling of taking the time to get to know your people that worked. And it will always stick with me, the feeling of really putting yourself out there and opening yourself up to people so they can see you as a planner as well. Because if you're giving yourself, you naturally will give 120% as opposed to 100% to it because you like them and they're going to get something good out, aren't they? If you're giving more than you said you were going to give. Yeah. So it was just a lovely experience. I just think with anyone, just in this industry, I think you've got to be really truthful and honest about who you are and give yourself and be honest with people, because they will really respect that, and they'll respect your expertise, and they'll respect that you're being yourself and you're being, genuine. I personally think that's what's helped to build my brand. It's just that honesty and that truthfulness, and giving out what you want to get back.
Yeah. So, Sally, what do you think's been the most rewarding part of your journey from drama teacher to award-winning planner? Like, what's been the most rewarding part of that?
It's been, personally rewarding. The highlight, the work highlight was the award, because it's validated what I've tried to do since the beginning. But little wins along the way, taking on a full-time member of staff was a massive thing for me, because, for so many years, it was just little me, the whole duck thing, doing everything and trying to look like, you've got it. It's easy, being all various different things going on at the same time.
And don't get a cramp in one leg because you'll go around in circles.
Exactly. Yeah. Rest and recuperate. But yeah, taking on a full-time member of staff was a massive thing for me. It was a huge thing, and it was validating to the fact that my business works, and I was getting in the money. I was getting the money to be able to pay somebody else. That was a massive thing. Little things like, I started doing prop hire and things like that, and then being able to afford the rent, which is huge. Things like that. It's just little wins, like validating the fact that you've built something that you can be proud of. So there's all things, really. They don't have to be all singing and dancing, but they can be things that are, back end, that you're just naturally proud of, being the boss.
Yeah, for sure. I can see Jack's itching to ask you a question.
Go on, Jack.
I was taking a moment, Ben. I was going to actually allow you to speak. Okay. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking of coming from something else into wedding planning, making that change?
God. Well, I mean, it's scary, but I think if you've got the right support, you've got to have. There's got to be a financial support somewhere, a little safety net, because like I was saying at the beginning, coming from something that gave me a salary every month, it was massively scary to jump into something that was unknown. So I think, you got to feel as though there's a backup plan if you need it. But otherwise, I just think you've got to be brave and you've got to take the leap and just make sure that you've got support out there from people with the whole mentoring thing, the whole advice, networking, all that sort of thing. Just put in these little safety nets around you. But if I just think I'm not a natural risk taker. Changing my career was a big thing for me. But I just tried to make sure that I had little safety nets if I needed them, but otherwise you've just got to go for it. You've got to go for it, but just use the people that are out there, use advice, use people's skills, get experience, go off, do your job and go off and shadow people, learn and do all the networking. So you feel like you've got sort of skills going into it. I think that's a massive thing as well. Going blind into something, I think you've got to be really, you've got to be quite, it's a big risk, isn't it? So try and have a little safety net around you so that you can use people, you can use guidance, things like that, really. But at the end of the day, I think unless you go for it, you're never going to know. And I would rather go for something and have a try at something and it all, go wrong and look back on it and go, do you know what, I tried? You're never going to know, are you?
Yeah, I'm clearly emotional by all of this. I had something caught in my throat, and now the tears is like streaming down my face.
Oh, so inspirational.
Ben, have you got your Ben question?
My thing, yes, my Ben question. But I totally agree, Sally. I think it's a rite of passage for anyone in pretty much any industry to carry bags for a while, just to learn what you're doing. So I think that's hugely important, and it's something that's lost a lot now.
Don't be ashamed of doing the shadowing and the bag things like that. There's no shame in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just be open to it.
My little question that I ask all the guests is: if you walked outside and saw an 18-year-old version of yourself, what advice would you give that 18-year-old version of yourself to ensure your success?
Oh my God.
Knowing what you know now, of course.
Yeah. I think be open to things. Don't think that you know everything at the beginning. Don't go into it sort of blind. Make sure that you do your homework, you do your research, that you listen, you collaborate with people, you take advice, you listen from people and reflect on things, because you don't know everything right at the beginning. You absolutely don't know everything. So just learn as much as you possibly can from people and from what you do. And if something doesn't work, there's a reason why it's not going to work. So change it and reflect on it. So yeah. So basically, you don't know everything.
Yeah.
Knowledge is.
I think I was going to say something ageist there, but I won't.
Oh, and also don't eat all the biscuits just because they're open. Just don't eat the whole packet of biscuits at once. Take your time. Take your time with things.
That's good advice.
Ben, for the first time ever, I was thinking, how would I answer that question? Never thought about that. And I think I would say buy the shoes.
Buy the shoes.
Yeah, life's short, buy the damn shoes. Like, that's kind of what I would say. So,
I like that.
Funnily enough, that's actually a question that I've asked quite a lot of people throughout my career. And having sat in big events with people like Richard Branson and people like that, if I get to see them or get to speak with them afterwards, I always ask that question. And some of the answers from that question have been mind-boggling. Some of them have just been, dude, I don't know how you made it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a really good question, and some of the answers are very, there's such a diversity in the answers. So yeah. Jack, You're
What?
the wrap-up queen, Jack. You're the wrap-up queen because you know, like, all of this stuff. I'm just...
Sally, I come from radio, right? I had my own on-air show. Old mate would ring up on the phone, and my favourite word was, and anyway, because they just want to have a chat.
I think I might do a little introduction for us at the start so people know that I'm actually here, and then leave it to you to intro it and wrap it up. Yeah,
I reckon.
Yeah, I reckon.
By season 5, we'll have it all, perfect.
Yeah, it'll be nice. I've only been here for about 15 episodes, Sally. So
Okay.
Look, we're keeping it real, okay? People like this about us, I think.
Anyway,
Sally, we digress. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. And yeah, you've had heaps of nuggets that you've passed on that so many of our listeners will get a lot out of this episode, actually. So thank you. If you want to find out more about the best wedding planner in the Southeast, it's really easy. You just look up lunaandthelane.co.uk. And also Sally is on Instagram, of course, and Facebook, and her username is Luna and the Lane. So thank you so much and keep in touch.
Yeah, thank you, Sally. It's been wonderful to meet you.
Thanks so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
This episode of Wedding Empires is brought to you by the Wedding Academy, where you can start and grow your wedding business. We offer certificate courses, group coaching programs, and a whole heap of templates and worksheets and things to help you get started and grow your wedding business. For more information, visit weddingacademyglobal.com. And don't forget to use your 5% discount code PODCAST when checking out.